Beyond the School Gates, Place-Based Pedagogy in the Age of Neoliberalism, a holistic exploration for educational reform. This architectural thesis looks at designing a new school, but not a school as we know it. And to start with, we need to ask ourselves the question, what is education, and why is it important? According to the writer, social theorist, and anarchist Colin Wood, there are three schools of thought around education. Firstly, children are seen as vessels to be filled with knowledge by teachers following a structured curriculum. Second, a child is a lump of clay to be moulded by teachers into desired societal roles. Thirdly, children are seen as delicate flowers and need nurturing and supportive environments to flourish, with teachers acting as the facilitators. Many educators strive for the flower metaphor. All too frequently, we find ourselves reverting to the practice of teaching solely for standardized tests and memorization. Through this, a counterculture is born. The anarchistic stories within the Bath Street Kids comics reflect this. In an effort to record educational challenges faced in the here and now, I conducted a 4-part series titled Voices from the Classroom.
So I started teaching with the start of the national curriculum.
So he did the business, it's purely a business model.
I didn't like exams and I didn't have a great time at A-levels.
The idea that, that there were all these hippie liberal teachers who were letting kids do whatever, they needed to stamp that out.
A different kind of way of learning that's kind of done more through like play and creativity, and rather than like sitting down in a classroom.
At the same time, we've got young teachers, well, I mean, not just young teachers, all of us, struggling to pay for the petrol to get to work. And
it was denigration of teachers. They were just completely the sort of, they were just slated.
So what's the big idea? How can we radically change our educational landscape, and what role does architecture play within this? Drawing from Colin Wood's concept of the exploding school, this brief rejects the idea of isolated institutions surrounded by barriers. Instead, it proposes a high street school integrated into the community, where students engage with their local environment, collaborate locally, and pursue educational topics relevant to them. The thesis contests the notion of singular intelligence, or IQ, and incorporates Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences to establish learning goals and objectives. The educational philosophy is rooted in a humanistic and child-centered pedagogy inspired by the metaphor of nurturing children as flowers. Extrapolating this metaphor into a methodology, the project is structured around 9 chapters. The concept for the High Street School is covered in Phase 1. Phase 2 looks at sowing the seed. The project seeks to establish an exemplary high street school within the economically challenged neighbourhood of Springburn. In order to understand the site's educational potential, the community will have to come together and conduct a derive, navigating through formal and informal learning spaces. The next phase, germination, involves mapping potential educational nodes based on Howard Gardner's 8 multiple intelligences. For example, local allotment to foster naturalistic learning, promoting appreciation for nature. The compiled research will be given to the new school caretaker. After these intelligent bases have been established, we can then look at developing them through architectural interventions. I therefore propose that architects take on the role as a high street school caretaker. This approach challenges the notion that architects design and then move on. Instead, they would remain in residence, continuously adapting and refining their designs. Their task would be collaborating with teachers, local residents, and students to create a new learning environment. Phase 4, Early Growth, starts to discuss a localized learning philosophy, engaging with students using conversation tools such as the educational abacus. Phase 5 looks at mature growth, and this is where we take the consultation and conversations that we had with the children and turn them into educational topics, but the key idea here is that these are thematic topics and not subjects. From the selected topic, the community will need to outline 8 intelligent bases which will be used to leverage the existing facilities into urban classrooms. Phase 6, Flowering. Once the 8 intelligent bases have been mapped within the community, the caretaker and the students will need to identify any opportunities for these places to be improved or enhanced spatially. Through a series of design consultations, the caretaker will produce mock designs that will later be constructed within the Centre for Making Education. Phase 7, Pollination. This phase moves from the rhetoric of design into real architectural interventions. Overseen by the caretaker, the school will manufacture the pavilions with a kit of parts, which will then be transported to the intelligent bases within Springburn. This will then be installed by the community. Phase 8, Dispersal. During the consultation at Fiona Young Childminders, one of the children asked how they would move between the theatre productions, which sparked the idea of the High Street School bus. Finally, last but not least is Phase 9, Cycle Repeat. Upon completion of the project, a comprehensive review will be conducted to evaluate successes and identify areas for improvement. Certain interventions may be preserved for future use, while others will be creatively transformed, adhering to the principles of cradle-to-cradle design.